Thanks for joining me today. This is Danny, and I am going to show you how to set up a shop today with Thut Essentials, with the Thut Essentials mod. We're going to need an item frame, a sign, and some kind of inventory, either a chest or a shulker box. I found that modded inventories don't always work. Like, for instance, I have an actual edition small storage crate that did not work with the mod, but the vanilla chest and shulker boxes both work. We're also going to need an anvil. So first I'm going to set up a just regular user shop that has an inventory that people can buy things from, and then the balance of whatever they buy goes to whatever player set up the shop. And then we're also going to take a look at how to set up a server shop. So this would be like the infinite shop. It has no inventory and the money is just going nowhere or the item is going nowhere in the case of the server buying items. So first of all, for a user shop, we set up a item frame. You do have to set the item frame first and give it an item. Let's say we want to sell emeralds. We put an emerald in this frame. Now it is very important that you put the emerald in the frame before we do the next step, which is the sign. Whoops, I did not want to put the sign there. The sign. Because once you place the sign and this becomes a shop, you can no longer put stuff in that item frame. The first line of the sign has to be either the word buy or the word sell, or it has to have the word buy or the word sell in it. It might be a little confusing for users who want to interact with your shop, because this is actually the salesperson, the person setting up the shop, is either selling or buying. So if somebody wants to buy an emerald, they have to go to a shop that says sell. So what you might want to do to make it a little easier for users is to say I sell and then the second line has to be a number. So this is how many items we're going to sell. So I sell 1. The third line you can type whatever you want. It doesn't matter. We can just put whatever there. But of course, I'm going to put something there that's going to make sense to the customer who might be buying from the shop. So I'm going to say I sell 1 emerald for, and then the last line is how much of the currency we're selling it for. So let's say we want to sell an emerald for 1,000. So I'm selling emeralds for 1,000 currency. The currency is what your balance is at any time. So that's just the points that you use. It's the money, it's the dollars or whatever you want to call it. And then down here we have to have our inventory. Now I'm using shulker boxes, and the reason I'm using shulker boxes is because the way we have our protection set up at spawn, users are allowed to interact with chests, but they are not allowed to interact with shulker boxes unless it's a plot that they have access to. So the person who owns this shop will be able to access this shulker box. I'm not going to get into permissions in this video. We're just getting into setting up the shop, but do realize that you want to have some way of protecting this inventory, because as far as I can tell, at least at the time of this recording, Thut Essentials does not protect the inventory. So any user theoretically could just come in, open that inventory and grab the emeralds, and then your shop is completely pointless. So that's it. The shop is, oh no, actually the shop isn't done yet. So there's one more thing we have to do, and this is what we need the anvil for. We have to take an item and we have to put it in the anvil, and we have to name it shop. And then we take that item and we shift right click on the item frame. So now if we right click on the sign, we're going to get an emerald and we're going to pay 1,000 for it. Now my balance didn't change because I just paid myself 1,000. So it's kind of hard for us to tell what's going on here. But if we look in the chest, we'll see that 11 were taken out. My balance remained the same because I paid myself 1,000. So, but if I were another user, I would have lost, my balance would have gone down by 1,000, and then that's it. Now there's a couple little things that we need to watch out for. Not only do you have to protect the chest, you also need to protect the item frame, because anybody can grab the item from the item frame. And once there's no item there, what's going to happen is the shop will still be a shop, and it'll still take 1,000 from you, and it'll look in the item frame. So, oh, what am I giving you for 1,000? Nothing. So if somebody comes and right clicks on the shop, they're still going to lose their 1,000 things but they're not going to get anything. And we don't want that happening. Of course, actually, I think that's only the case with the infinite shops. That might not be the case for this one. But anyway, here's the bigger problem. I mean, first of all, somebody stole my emerald now. So this shop doesn't have an emerald. Nobody can buy emeralds from it anymore. And somebody stole one of my emeralds. That's bad. Okay, now it's saying insufficient items. So it's a little bug that we run into, that when an emerald is removed, or when the item is removed from the frame, and now I cannot put the item back in because this frame has some kind of weird protection on it. And what's crazy about it is, even if we get rid of this stuff and we put an item frame there, forever and ever, this block will not allow us to place an item in an item frame ever again. But there is a way to fix this. So if this happens to you, if you're setting up a shop and you accidentally remove the item from your item frame, or you want to put a different item in your item frame, which, you know, is certainly a reasonable thing, what you have to do is you have to place a block in the block space where your sign was, and you have to right click on it. And that's it. It now has removed the shop. So by right clicking on a block that's not a sign, it removes the shop from this location. And if you ever want to move a shop or get rid of the shop, you want to make sure you do that so that you don't have shops floating around in the world that you forget about or whatever. So now we can actually put the emerald back in the item frame, and we can put the sign up again and say, I sell 1 emerald for 1,000. And then we got to take our shop block, or shop, just some item that has the name shop, shift right click on that, and now we have our shop in business again. Hooray! So what we've done to protect this is we're using chisels and bits to produce these little glass covers. Like I said, it turns out the item frames are microblock compatible. But you want to make sure that you use planes or something that assures that you do not miss a single bit on this thing, because if there's a single bit open, someone will be able to click through it and get in there. And whoops, and they might even do it by accident, so it's not, we're not just trying to prevent, evil mischief and such, because, like somebody might not know how to use the shop, and they might be like, oh, how do I buy an emerald? Oops. And then, end up pulling the emerald out of there and like, oh, I got the emerald. So that's a shop for selling. Now we can change this easily to a buying shop by just rewording this. If we put the word buy, it has to be exactly like this with a capital B. I buy 1 emerald for, let's say we're buying him for 500 or 500, maybe 900, so that, we don't want to be too greedy. It's still a shop. So breaking the sign did not make it not a shop. The only way you can make it not a shop is by putting a block there that's not a sign, so it should still actually work. And if we have an emerald in our inventory, which we actually don't have a regular, it's looking for that specific block, which does not have the name shop, although there is a way that we can do that too, but we'll get to that in a second. So now if we right click on the sign, we can see that it took an emerald from us, it put it in here, and it gave us 900. We paid ourselves 900 for it. No tag. And we're gonna have to get rid of that cover, and we shift right click on our frame again with that, and now it should accept this emerald. No, it doesn't, because we have to unmake it a shop again. Oops. So we just right click on that block with nothing, and now it is no longer a shop. So we can test this by removing this emerald. Okay, and putting one back in. I don't know what happened to that emerald. And then, oh crap, I just made an empty sign. So we know it's not a shop right now because we can interact with that frame. So I buy 1 emerald for 900. So now we have our shop noTag item. It could be any item, it doesn't matter what it is. Shift right click, it should now be a shop. And if we right click on it, it took our emerald. If we right click on it again, oh, it's still not letting us do that. Okay, well that's interesting because this is when you use the shop noTag, it's supposed to ignore NBT data. All right, now let's set up an infinite shop. So this would be the admin shop. On this particular server, I'm buying the server. The server is buying emeralds in order to get currency into the economy. So again, it's the same exact setup pretty much, except that, I mean, we put up our item frame, we put in the item that we want to sell, we set up a sign, and we say I, or whatever. You could just say buy, but I'm going to say I buy 1 emerald for 500 actually was what we were doing on this server. And we click OK. And we don't need a chest because this is basically an infinite item shop. So we go and we name, actually I already did this, but we name it INF shop, capital I, capital S. Shift right click, and that's it. So I right click with my emerald, and now my balance has gone up to 1070. And I can do that every time my balance goes up. There is a little bit of a bug with this, with the infinite shops. I've noticed that if the person who set up the shop does not have at least 500 emeralds, or does not have a balance of 500, it will say insufficient funds, even though it isn't taking from their funds. So it's kind of interesting, but just something to note, that make sure that, you know, the admin who sets up the infinite shop has some balance in their funds when they set it up. Again, like the other one, we're going to have to protect this so that nobody takes the emerald. And that's it, actually. That's all there is to it. Now, you can see I put a sign up here just to make it clear to people that to sell your emeralds, right-click on the sign below, and it'll sell the emeralds. So just a couple other things. We do have a balance command. I think I mentioned that at the beginning. That'll show you what your balance is. There is also a pay command. So you can pay another player a certain amount of money or a certain amount of balance. It takes it out of your balance. So now if we look at our balance, we can see we now only have 6,070 instead of 6,570. So, and that's about it. That's really all there is to this economy system. It's fairly simple. It's fairly easy to set up once you kind of understand how it works, because there's a couple little interesting glitches, and you know, the documentation isn't really out there yet. It's because, you know, it's a work in progress and all that. And I actually figured a lot of this stuff out just by looking at the code to see how things work. But if you do have any questions, if there's anything I missed, or if you run into any problems, do feel free to leave comments in the comment section below. I do generally read all my comments, and I will take the time to answer you, or maybe even update the video if I missed something. And of course, if you did enjoy this, if you learned something from it, please feel free to click the like button and to check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching.